Domonic Barnley is in his mid-30s and an estate agent. At the moment he's very sensible and drives a V6 Freelander, but he's reached that time in his life when fun is back on the agenda. So he's looking to spend around £40,000 on a British sports car. Hi Domonic.
Hi.
Nice to meet you. Obviously the estate agency business is good at the moment.
It's very good at the moment, yes.
Selling lots of houses, able to afford something a bit nicer then?
Yes, for a change.
Yeah?
I think, yes.
Yeah? Why do you want to get into a sports car at the moment then?
Well, I just feel I'd like to drive one of those
You've reached
for a while.
that stage in your life, yeah.
Probably, yes.
So what do you reckon to this, the Noble?
It's a beautiful looking car, very outstanding in its looks, and I've not really seen one before.
Very, very rare on the roads. I mean, hard to find, huge waiting list for one if you wanted one brand new, but there are one or two about used, and this is one that we've picked out for you.
Yeah, it's very nice looking colour on the car as well.
Looks great, doesn't it?
And the aluminium part in the dash stands out as well, I think.
Come and have a look at the second car that we've chosen for you. Now Domonic, the second car we've chosen for you is this beast from Blackpool, the TVR. It's the Tuscan S, so it's not just the standard Tuscan, you get an extra 30 brake horsepower with this. So it's one mean beast, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's got some really tigerish looks about it, this, and in the racing red colour as well, and it's got a really nice interior as well with this.
And when the weather turns nice, you can take the top off, stow it in the boot, and you've got all the pleasures of the open-air motoring as well.
When we do have nice weather.
When we do have nice weather.
That's right.
Fairly expensive though, again. Just over 40 grand, 45-ish or so for a Tuscan S. Not a problem?
We'll have to see.
Have a look at the third car that we've chosen for you. Now, how about this? The classic James Bond car, the Lotus Esprit. It's got that sort of wedge shape. I mean, the film the other night I was watching, from the 1970s, the Bond film, they were driving this car.
Yeah, it's a very nice looking car, very aerodynamic.
It is, isn't it?
But it does look a little dated to me towards the other two vehicles.
But it's kind of like the Porsche 911 where it sort of evolves every few years and they just tweak it a little bit. They still retain the same style.
Every time a new Bond movie comes out, no doubt they come back of interest.
They do. It's a cracking engine under the bonnet, 3.5 V8, twin turbo.
Should we see how it drives?
Let's have a drive. First of our cars, the Lotus Esprit, 3.5 V8 engine. First, what do you reckon to the interior? Is it beginning to look a bit old-fashioned, this car?
It is looking to be a little old-fashioned inside, yes. And very dark as well inside here.
What do you think about the way that the car actually drives? I mean, the handling and the performance, the gears and the clutch, does it feel heavy?
It does feel heavy. The gearbox feels very chunky. And you have to make sure it goes into the gear.
Yeah, it's not a very quick action, is it? It's very much a definite positive action.
It is, yes, yes.
I mean, this car has got fantastic potential and performance. I mean, it does 0 to 60 in just over 4 seconds, 3.5 V8 engine. I mean, it's a storming car, if you can forgive the fact that it's looking a bit dated these days.
Yeah, I mean, you can feel the power when you put your foot down on the accelerator. It has that oomph which is there.
So if you were spending 37.5 grand on a car like this, would you be happy?
I would have to think about it, really. It does feel very chunky and powerful, but it also looks very dated to me inside. Some of the dials look a little cheap for that sort of money.
They are, aren't they?
You know? The gear stick, it's very clunky and you have to be precise when you're putting it in gear. So I'll prefer to see how the other two drive and then make my decision.
Well, here's Richard Hammond with a lowdown on the Lotus Esprit.
I can't be bothered with all the Bond stuff, but you know what I'm saying. The Esprit really hasn't changed that much in all the years since the tuxedo-clad warrior himself emerged dripping from the sea in his. You don't get all the girls with it nowadays, unfortunately. And I say it's not changed much. It has changed in some ways. The profile is still instantly recognisable, that same wedge shape. It's barely changed through the decades in much the same way that the Porsche 911 didn't change. Some bits have changed though. The engine is now a 3.5 litre V8 that's good for 350 brake horsepower. That means 0 to 60 is done in 4.8 seconds. Let's see you do that in the 70s then, Bond. One place where it really hasn't changed enough is the interior. The cabin, we've got to be honest, is pretty cramped and a bit gloomy. And also most of the parts and switchgear show signs of having been nicked from other cars, and not very exciting ones at that. So it does mean even if it could sprout fins and shoot torpedoes, I doubt I'd be able to find the button to do it. And even if I could, it would probably be nicked off an old Nova. Not very glamorous at all. But all the time, you've got to admit, this thing has enormous presence on the road. Not just from the way it looks, but also from the fact that lurking behind my left ear is 3.5 litres of V8. Oh yes. Oh yes. The Lotus's grumbly V8 does generate 350 brake horsepower from 3.5 litres, and again, it's that enormous Group 20 insurance. Used examples we picked up included a 1983 Lotus Esprit Turbo with 51,000 miles, just 6.5 grand as a private sale.